Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is going to be a tag video, a very long tag video with 50 questions. And I wasn't actually tagged in this one, but I saw Lisa Loves did her one and she kind of left it as an open tag. I'm unsure who created it, so apologies to whoever created it because I don't know who did it, but I will leave at least Lisa's one in the box below. And I won't tag anyone because it's so many questions. I feel this one's quite a chore. Actually, there's a lot of work to go into this one. So, but it's quite interesting because it's less about films and geek culture, more just about life, with some kind of somewhat fun and amusing questions. So I'll leave it as an open tag if anyone wants to do it. Some of these questions are somewhat arbitrary, but there you go. We'll just kind of rattle through them. Number one, do you prefer writing in black or blue pen? Don't care, is my literal honest answer to that one. Do you prefer living in the country or the city? I think I prefer the city. I live in the city currently. I live in Southampton. I grew up in, maybe not the country, but a kind of like a small country town, so to speak. So it was somewhat, we didn't have a train station, things like that. But certainly growing up there, it was kind of a little bit of you felt somewhat isolated, not much socially. I like having amenities in the city, things like that. I like to be able to have everything I kind of want to go to within a short range. And to be honest, if I want to go to the country, I can drive there. So there you go. I prefer the city. If you notice a new skill, what would it be? So I would. This is going to say I'm not a musical person, but I find if a lady can play a classical instrument, piano, violin, flute, something like that, man, that it is so sexy to me. But as such, I would also kind of like to kind of maybe do something like that, but being able to kind of learn to play like a classical instrument, maybe the flute. I know that's really kind of like where would I use that skill? But yeah, I just like listening to those style of music, and if someone, I don't know, if someone has the kind of the ability to learn something like that, and has an artistic streak with them, I just kind of find it extremely attractive in a person. It's something I would love to be able to do. Do you drink your tea or coffee with sugar? I drink neither tea nor coffee, so that question is neither, because I hate the stuff. Tea tastes like dirty dishwater if you ask me, and coffee isn't much better. What's your favourite book as a child? I would say two. The Faraway Tree, I always remember kind of reading, and then a little bit probably when I was really young, Where the Wild Things Live, or wherever it's called, that movie there. Do you prefer baths or showers? I absolutely prefer baths. I do like to sit down in the bath at the end of my working day, have some nice bath salts, a bubble bath, things like that. Yes, it's a little girly, I know, but it's a kind of a real treat, and I really, really enjoy it. I find it so relaxing. Get out, it's like, oh man, I feel super sleepy now. Showers, arguably a quicker and kind of, more wake you up, I suppose, but I prefer a bath. If you could be a mythical creature, which would you choose? Minotaur, because they're badass. Apologies if I seem a little bit doolally today. I had my COVID vaccine earlier on today, and it's made me feel a little bit like, woo, away with the fairies. So apologies if I kind of seem a little bit like discombobulated while I'm reading these kind of questions. Number 8, do you prefer reading paper or electronic books? Paper, to be honest. I remember I tried reading like the comics, for example, on the app. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't find the things, So I'd prefer old school. I'm old, you see. That's what happens. We don't get on with technology. What's your favourite item of clothing? I'll be honest with you, these days I don't really care. When I was younger, I was a lot more fashion focused, shall we say. These days I couldn't care less, to be honest with you. It's more about practicality and comfort than fashion choices. Again, it's an age thing. But when a couple of things I was a big fan of when I was a bit younger. Not too young, but kind of like, 10 years ago or so. I used to have this, and I'm trying to put photos up if I can find some. I used to have a t-shirt with a face of Kate Moss on it. and it was my lucky pulling shirt, and I always pulled whenever I used to go out to a nightclub or whatever and wore that shirt. It was my lucky shirt. I have no idea what happened to it, and besides, it's probably going to be way too small for me now. And my other piece of favourite clothing I had was I bought like a really kind of like nice suit. I think it was a Ted Baker suit, like a grey one, and I just like wearing that. I kind of quite like wearing suits. Sometimes I get a little bit fed up with them because I wear one for work, but you know, I used to like kind of going out in suits. But again, that was around sort of 10 or so years ago. So these days, it's all about the comfort, baby. Number 10. Do you like your name? Would you ever change it? So my name is Leo, in case you are unawares. Yes, I do like my name. When I was younger. So, I'm going to go on a little tangent now. I hear this, here's the thing, right, okay. I hear this come up a lot. When everyone's talking about names of kids, oh, we can't call it this name because it will get the piss taken out of it at school. If it's going to get the piss taken out of it, they're going to get the piss taken out of it whatever their name is called. It just might not be about their name. And trust me, for someone who had a bit more of an unusual name, having the piss taken out of your name is like, whatever, you know, who cares? So, in actual fact, if your kid is fat, thin, tall, spotty, whatever it might be, having an unusual name may actually take the target off something which may be a little bit more damaging kind of psychologically. Just saying. So take it from someone who used to get the piss taken out of them for their name, because it was relatively unusual. This was before DiCaprio, people. There wasn't many Leos around when I was young. However, the second part of that question, I did consider changing my surname, and it was for personal reasons, because I'm the product of a divorced parents, and I never saw my father again from when I was quite young, and my surname is his name, and I really didn't feel much connection to it, if that makes sense. So I did consider it, but I just didn't think I could. What do I change it to? I just like some made up shit. I'm just like, oh, just don't worry about it. So, but I did consider it at one point. Who is a mentor you? Don't have one. Easy. Would you ever want to be famous? If so, what for? Don't really care about fame, if I'm completely honest. If I was famous for doing something worthwhile, then great. But I don't actually care. I'm certainly not trying to be YouTube famous or anything like that. So I don't care about. To be fair, you know, I would probably not. If I'm completely honest with you, probably wouldn't want to be famous, unless it was like, I don't know, I saved a bus load of teenagers or something like that. I don't know. Maybe then, but I don't really care otherwise. Are you a restless sleeper? No, I am out like a light. It is like head on the pillow, bam, I'm gone. So I'm a pretty deep sleeper. Would you consider yourself romantic? Honestly, no, I wouldn't. I know it's probably most guys would say, yeah, I'm totally romantic. I'm just going to be honest, I'm totally not romantic. Maybe the odd thing here and there, but I won't lie, I'm not really particularly romantic. Which element best represents you? Sulfur, I would say. Who do you want to be closer to? Sexy ladies, I guess. Do you miss someone at the moment? I'm kind of used to living on my own. I've lived on my own for about 10 years. I used to live with an ex-girlfriend once upon a time, but I've kind of got used to it. So I'm quite happy living on my own. I don't really get lonely and stuff, so that's kind of like, it would be not, you know, it's kind of, sometimes I guess I think about stuff like that, but not really. Tell us about an early childhood memory. Okay. So in the UK, we have these little holiday camps called Butlins, and they are, I don't know if I should put this photo up. No, I won't. So there's these holiday camps called Butlins, and they're kind of, these days, they're all about piss-ups and kind of like, you know, rides and things. But when I was a kid, it was more about kind of doing like talent shows and things like this, and it's very different. I've got a photo when I was younger, and it will just show you. Oh, maybe I should. Oh, it's controversial. Nothing to do with me, but just I'm going to put it up. I'll put it up if I can find it. But that'll give you an idea of where society was back in however old. I mean, I was about 5 then. But anyway, a childhood memory is they got all the kids to go up on stage and tell jokes, and I didn't know any jokes. There was like, all the kids go up on stage, you've got to tell a joke. And I just didn't know anyway. I didn't know any, apart from one, which was a rude joke that I'd heard, but I did not understand. And it was the only, and the only reason I remember it, because I knew it was a joke, but I didn't actually understand what it was. So I got up on stage, and bearing in mind all these kids are saying, oh, why did a chicken cross the road? 5, 6-year-olds like this. And I won't tell you what the joke was, but it was somewhat offensive. Let me just put it like that. And so they go up and they, hey, what's your name? Leo. How old are you? 5. So let's say this joke, and I said this joke, and it was like a horribly offensive joke. Me not understanding what it meant at all, but just knowing it was a joke. And then there was just silence, and then and then the joke went dum dum, and I was just like, shit. I mean, kind of wandered off. My mum was like, Jesus Christ. So yeah, that was kind of funny. What is the strangest thing you have ever eaten? I'm quite experimental with food, to be honest with you, so I've eaten a bunch of stuff, which is kind of weird, and I'm always actually quite willing to try stuff. I went on holiday in France, and we went to this little kind of like weird kind of like delicatessen place, and there was this little meat counters and stuff. They had this one thing, and it was called, I forgot what it was called, it was some weird name, and I just thought the meat was like a funny colour. I thought, I love that, I'll try it. And I forgot what it was actually called, but I have no idea what it actually was. And I remember asking French people, what's that mean? And no one knew what it was. And I was trying to get, I was probably pronouncing it wrong. And I was like, what's that mean? And no one knew what I was talking about. So I ate some mystery meat, and it kind of tasted a little weird. Certainly wasn't anything usual. What can you see outside your bedroom window? A car park and some bricks. City living, people. What am I most thankful for? A full head of hair. Oh, hang on a second. Let's move on for that one. Do you like spicy food? I do. Well, I don't mind medium spicy food, not mega spicy. Have you ever met someone famous? My claim to fame is I have cooked for Judi Dench, Dame Judi Dench, one time M, and amongst other things, multiple times. So I used to, one of my earliest jobs, there was a country pub in the middle of the woods in Surrey, and I worked there as a chef, and Judi Dench it was her local, essentially, and I was working there with my girlfriend at the time, and she was like the waitress, and I was like in the kitchen, and Judi Dench used to come in for lunch, and I used to cook her lunch multiple times, and so that's my little claim to fame. Do you keep a diary or a journal? No, I do not. Do you prefer a pen or a pencil? Depends what I'm doing, but generally a pen. What is your star sign? My name's Leo. Clue is probably in the title. Do you like crunchy cereal or soggy? Don't really care, if I'm honest. Probably crunchy, but I'll take what's there. What do you want your legacy to be? I have no idea. Is the honest answer to that. Who knows? Can't pass on that one. Couldn't say. Do you like reading? I don't read a lot. I actually don't read a lot of fiction. If I do read, it's kind of like boring news or technical stuff. I actually used to like reading like facts about things and stuff like that. I remember you saw a lot kind of like film books, but they were just kind of like about the production and things like this. I used to read like comic books, but I've kind of given that up because that was like too much of an expensive hobby. But I did read a great book about the real life of Vlad the Impaler, who was obviously based Dracula was based on. How do you show someone that you love them? Tell them, I suppose. Do I like ice in drinks? most of the time, I'd say. I don't mind, to be fair. What am I afraid of? Probably sharks, to be honest. That's the only real genuine fear I think I really have. If I ever go in this sea, and kind of not on Britain, but out in a foreign country, I'm kind of scanning the horizon somewhat. What's your favourite scent? I would say 50 Cent is probably my favourite one. Do you address people by their first or last name? Who addresses people by their last name? Oi, Smith. Oi, Jones. What? Silly question. Of course you address them by their first name, assuming you know it. If money was not a factor, how would you live your life? To excess. It's true. Do you prefer swimming in pools or the ocean? I love swimming, and I like either, to be honest with you, but I think I like swimming in the ocean if it's not too cold. Like say again, foreign holidays. Love it. I love being in the ocean, but if it's too cold, swimming pool. What would you do if you found $50 on the ground? I would go, damn, shame it's not £50. Boom. I did find, when I was a little boy, I did find a £50 note on the floor, right? And I was young, I gave it to my mum, right? And she bought me a Cadbury's cream egg with it. And I said, where's the change? And she said, there wasn't any. And this was a long time ago. There you go. Where are we? Have you ever seen a shooting star? I saw shooting stars live at the Mayflower Theatre in Southampton. Boom. What is the one thing you would teach your children? I do not have children, so therefore this question is null and void to me. If you have a tattoo, what would it be and where would you get it? I actually have a tattoo already. I only have one. I got it when I was about 18, and this was before the Transformers movies came out, so no one knew what it was back then. I kind of like the cartoons when I was a kid and that and the toys, and I like the design. And in those days, no one knew what it was. Thanks, Michael Bay. What can you hear right now? The sound of my own voice. Where do I feel the safest? Probably in bed. What is the one thing you want to overcome, conquer? Russia, I would say. If you could travel back to any era, what would you choose? That's a difficult, that needs more context in regards to the circumstances of it. But I would love to travel back to the Dark Ages and kind of medieval Britain. But I wouldn't want to live there. And I wouldn't want to kind of like put myself in it, because obviously, you know, they'll probably think I'm some sort of like antichrist or kind of pagan and get burned at the stake or something like that. So I'd kind of like to visit, but kind of not really, you know, get too involved, if that makes sense. What is your what is your most used emoji? I guess the Winky Face, because a lot of people don't understand I'm joking sometimes, so I have to try and point out the fact that I'm joking without actually saying this was a joke, by the way. So if I say something on a text, I'll try to go Winky to say this is actually a joke, don't take this too seriously, because my sense of humour has got me in trouble in more than one occasion. What is my favourite season? I would say Buffy season 5 is probably my favourite season. But if we're talking about, you know, seasons as in the year, probably autumn, because I just like the weather at that point. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. I kind of quite like the rustic kind of colours. Halloween does my head in a little bit. I'm not gonna. I know people love Halloween, but I hate the kind of the hype that Halloween gets, and people just get people just going like doolally over it and kind of like buying all this shit, and it's just like it just seems like such a commercial thing, if you know what I mean. So it's all right, but I don't, you know, I'm not a big Halloween lover or whatever. How do I spend my ideal day? Watching a couple of movies, something like that, just chilling out really. And I do like to I like to carry in, you know, visit places, and I quite like kind of visiting like castles and architecture and things like that. So maybe a movie in a castle. How about that? And then a nice dinner, French restaurant. That'll be my ideal day. How would I describe myself in one word? Dick. I'm a massive dick. I love being a dick. I love being dickish. I like dicking around, whatever you want to say. So yeah, dick. What do you regret the most? I try not to really... So my philosophy is this. You're better off regretting something you've done rather than something you haven't done. Because if you haven't done something, you always wonder, you know, what happens if I did this, right? Or how different would my life be? But if you do something and you cock it up and you make a dick of yourself, whatever, you'll get over it. So I guess to answer the question, this is another story, I'm afraid. So I was 29 and I had just come out of a 5-year relationship, and prior to that I was in another relationship, also kind of 5 years. So I had been in a relationship for a long time, most of my adult life. So I was kind of recently single, and I'd worked for this particular company. And there was a girl who worked there, and I'd always fancied her, but I never really crossed paths with her, so I never really had much to do with her, if that makes sense. So I kind of fancied her from afar. And she always had this like cherry red hair. Well, she has got this cherry red hair. So I used to call her Ultimate Red was my kind of nickname for her, because she had this like really, and I'm colourblind, so I don't often see much in the way of colour, but with her hair it was kind of like really kind of like deep bright red. It was lovely. Anyway, and so little whiles, like a few years after that, I kind of had stopped working with this place. I was working in this particular company, and she happened to come into where I was working, and I was like, oh bloody hell, you know. I said I recognise you, you know, but at work I have certain, you know, professional etiquette. Really, I don't like to flirt with clients and things. It's kind of not something. It's just my job is too important to me to get in trouble with that. So I was kind of like somewhat hamstrung, really. But anyway, she was kind of like, I chatted to her for a bit. She was telling me that she'd just split with her boyfriend. So, you know, we chatted for a while, and I was like, oh yeah. So I thought, wow, I'm single, she's single, and like I hadn't seen her for like, you know, 3 or 4 years. But I was at work, so I kind of left it. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, I went to a nightclub, and I remember, this is how I remember it, because it was a day before my 30th birthday. And I walked through this nightclub, went into the nightclub, and this is like, when we used to go to relatively quite a lot. And I've been out there with people from work. And so I opened the door to go into this club, and she's in there. She's actually in this nightclub. And I'd never seen her in there before. She was like, this is the first time I'd seen her in there. And then she sees me and kind of goes, oh, hi. And I thought, fuck. And I thought, fucking hell, like, it's like fate. Fate has lined this up for me. And I thought, man, I'm single for like the first time in like 10 years. I know she's single. Well, I thought we had a little bit of chemistry back when I was at work. And now it's kind of like fate has kind of like put this person in my path. And not only that, she was actually with another girl who I actually knew from another job. So I thought it's all kind of lined up. But I was like, I'll try and play it cool. You know, I don't want to kind of like seem too desperate or whatever. So I thought I'd go and get a drink first of all. And so I got a drink, and then one of my colleagues went to the DJ and said, oh, it's Leo's 30th birthday and tomorrow, so let's get him up on stage and get him to dance to the YMCA on his own. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, you know. So I had to go up on this stage all on my own, and so they put YMCA on. I was like, oh, gee, you know, doing all this. And then she's girls at the front going, yeah, you know, she's like, come on, woo, and I'm thinking, man, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden, this other random girl who I'd never seen before got up on stage and with me and started kind of grinding up to me, and this girl just fucked off. And she just went, and I'd never seen her again. I was like, shit, I've left it too late. Why didn't I, you know, why didn't I take the opportunity when I could? It's always bugged me, and from then, I've always had the philosophy, if I'd read that wrong and she'd gone, what are you talking about? Get out of here. Yeah, I would have felt like an idiot for 5 minutes. But I would have known. I always think, man, was that my chance then? You know, was that kind of like the fate's kind of like thinking, here's your kind of like your perfect partner. now I cocked it up. So, but that's my biggest regret. But my learn from that is take a chance. If there's ever something that presents itself, you're not sure whether to do it, do it. If it doesn't work out, you know, at least you know you haven't missed the chance. Anyway, there you go, bit of a long one. The last question, number 50. Invent your own word. What does it mean? I'm not going to randomly invent a new word, but I will tell you, I used to work for a sales company, and we used to have almost a different language we used to say, and some of it was for a reason. So we used to call insurance LUN, L-U-N-N. The reason so we could do that is so we could talk about insurance without people knowing what we were talking about. So we could kind of discuss insurance things without actually the customer knowing what we were just talking about. So there was the reasons. But the kind of a word, I had this like sales tip, and they were like proper. If you've ever seen like Glengarry Glen Ross, it's kind of like this, right? And if you ever, you know, so that's kind of what it was like. And so we had this sort of saying that, well, I said two, I'll show you two of them. So this saying came about that I kind of like, it might have been me, I can't remember. It was just strugs. It was short for struggle, as in you've struggled. So if you haven't hit target or you've missed a sale, it was strugs. Like, oh, strugs, man, that was strugs. But we also used to call McDonald's McSpleens, as in, because obviously all the crap they put in their burgers and stuff. So like a spleen burger, so we used to call it McSpleens. So that's kind of like my little made-up word. Don't really do it these days, but that was kind of like in the heyday of kind of hard sales back when I used to work for that. So that is my questions, 50 questions. I hope, how long has this gone on for? But so yeah, pretty long video, I'm sure. So that's it. So it's an open tag if anyone wants to do it. Did anyone find this interesting? It was kind of fun doing it, I won't lie. So there you go. Thank you for Lisa for doing this and turning me on to it. And I love you and leave her. Bye for now.